Uh-oh. Well, Gearheads, we're back at it with episode 15 of our Speedway Motors T-Bucket build. And I figured with Mother's Day right around the corner, we shake some things up, spin it up, and do a father-son special for you. So let's get wrenching. All right, Gearheads, so if you're just now joining the build, go ahead and go check out episode 1 so you can get caught up with what we're doing now, because there's a lot that we still need to do on the bucket. But we'll go ahead and do a really quick recap. We finished out the paint, the Raptor lining on the inside. You guys remember what the motor looked like in the beginning. Well, it was a hot mess, but now it's ready for a nice drive-in hot date there. Everything's done on the front, so we're all set there. Now, episode 14 saw an absolute wiring mess. Well, it's all cleaned up now, and guess what? It's looking pretty good. Now, if you could see the underneath of the dash, it's a bit scary, but nobody's gonna be looking up her dress here, so we're good with that. But all our electrical essentially works. We're good to go. Headlights work, gauges work, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, this is gonna be a pretty busy episode. We still have a lot of stuff that we still need to put in. Our bomber seats that we riveted a few months back, we're gonna go ahead and drop those in there. We're gonna drop the shifter in for our Turbo 350. Well, we got some seat belts that we're gonna throw in as well. Choke cables here, horn, and then we're gonna drop in the, well, infamous white drive shaft that we got going on. So we got throttle cables, pedals, and then we're also gonna throw in, for some of you old timers, you probably remember this. Well, I just had to do it, the wolf whistle. So you're gonna wanna stick around so we can definitely go blowing that and see how the ladies like that one. So because the Hot Rod Power Tour is right around the corner and I wanna make sure that we actually hit the deadline, and well, because it is a father-son special, I ended up summoning the old man. He's on his way to town, probably driving in the left lane, holding up traffic somewhere in Florida. But it's gonna be nice to have an extra set of hands so we can definitely get ahead and get everything finished and installed for our test ride here. So let's jump over to the workbench and show you what we got. So we got some reinforcements here. So if you guys are working on the Speedway body, again, there's no hatch here, no nothing. I have no idea. You know, it's kind of funny they didn't actually put a hatch there. So you got to come up with something for that. But I was going to start from the furthest breakaway, but when you really look at the way the T-bucket frame is set up here, your furthest one is actually going to be 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So instead of starting at the back, we're going to go ahead and start at the front here. So we got plenty of fluid.
We're going to have to add to the main as we start.
Yeah, so that's not open yet now, though,
no,
is it?
It's not open.
All right, so let me check the master cylinder. There's some in there, but not
Yeah, we just don't want it to
an insane amount.
To the hole.
Yeah, so we're good there. I'm watching it. And then let me
We
know
want to make sure that
on the brake.
we clean the top of the bottle off.
There you go.
There we go.
You got it? You know, that was actually some of the cheapest brake fluid I could find. I think I paid like $3 for that bottle, and it came from Jegs.
I buy a little bottle and like they go, oh, once they're open, you got to use them.
Nah, that's
They-
shit.
Back to Mike, I said I've been using the same little bottles for months.
Well, that's the thing. I got the same O'Reilly bottle I think I've been using for about 10 years or so.
I
But
think they're supposed to change color. I think if it gets moisture,
yeah,
get,
well,
get cloudy.
well, it'll work. It'll work for a quote unquote non-official 100-year-old T-bucket, right? Hey, as long as it breaks, that's all that matters. I'm used to brake to the floor. All right, twist a valve.
Yeah, and I have a jar that I used to do it.
Is that
with,
low
you know.
enough there? Yeah.
You blow it into a jar of brake fluid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Let me see if that's fitting.
Try that and see. All right, let me go ahead and check the reservoir, see what we got here.
Is there any fluid in these lines?
Yeah, there should be, but there's a ton of air in there because I had to actually break it a while back
I know,
to replace some stuff. But yeah, no, there's a lot of air in there. So
Wow.
what? Oh, you know, I was thinking that brake proportioning valve actually might be all the way shut. Let me check that. But yeah, that's a boat ton of air because I had a leak up here that I had to fix, and as soon as I fixed that leak, I developed a leak on the rear axle there. So it's going to have a lot of air on there. I had a few gremlins that had to be worked out. Let me check over here. So, yeah, it's going down a little bit here, but it was bench bled in the beginning. All right, so we got a little problem here. Take a look at this. So the way this seats in, tried to swap them from that one, right? We pulled it from there, and it doesn't seat perfectly. Well, you don't get much of a turn on it. So what's happening is it's pulling in air, and it's still, even when it's fully seated, see how it wiggles there. So we'll run and get some more and get that taken care of. But even with it fully seated there, it just doesn't, yeah, look at that. And that's from the opposite side as well. So on the next item. So we went and got some replacement bleeders here and tried some from the back. Pulled the back ones, attached it in here, and then moved some stuff around. But anyways, no matter what bleeder you put in here, they're still, even when they're tightened down, they're still loose. So there's a bit of a machining issue going on in the actual caliper itself, because on the other calipers everything is nice and tight. It's just one here, but put in 4 brake bleeders and they're all loose. It's leading here. So we'll wrap a little bit of Teflon tape, about 2 threads up, and then try that. If that doesn't work out, then it's going to be a full-on caliper replacement, which I hope not. It's not too hard to do. It's 2 bolts, right, and some lines, but it's just something I don't want to wait on. But let's try to bleed it. I'll do 4 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, holding. Floor.
Okay, no bubbles. We're good.
Okay. 2, 3, 4. Floor.
Release?
Yep.
No bubbles.
2, 3, 4. Holding. Oh yeah, it's pulling on. It's pulling on me now.
What's that?
They pulled on me. All right, so we got brakes, but we had some issues with some foaming back here. So we pumped a good amount through the system here, so it's nice and tight. No more leaks, no more crazy stuff going on over there. So if we drop down here, we're getting a lot of, actually getting a bunch of back spray in the beginning, but now got a nice solid pedal here. So it's nice and tight before obviously going to the floorboard. So we're gonna go ahead and clean this up, get that cap, it's nice and dirty, we'll get that cap put on, and then later on, we'll 3D print a little cover for that. Speedway doesn't give you anything for that. I have no idea. They routed it out, but there's no cover there. So we'll get something 3D printed, get it on that, but let's move on to the next list. We're using our B&M Pro Gate, and essentially we haven't really figured out where we're gonna run the cable. So with that, it's kind of an inconvenient size, but it's a little late in the game. We'll probably end up dropping the seats in here just to check it out. I'm juggling and putting it up here, but I don't know. With the seats in, we'll have to kind of figure it out. Looking at dropping it here, but the way that the shifter gate is set up, it's a rear exit on the cable, which is gonna have to wrap around and then come right through in there. So, I don't know. Let's see. Let's drop the seats in and figure it out. So the problem with this is I had them labeled, and then when I went to go paint them and finish everything up, they got mixed up in the garage and I had lost track of which one was which here. So pass me that other seat. Actually, this is the wrong one. This is the passenger side. You can set those in there. That's the passenger one, just the way it's cut. And the passenger one had to have a different drill hole pattern on it because of the channeled body. It was a bit different.
You slap some tape on it.
Yeah.
Left and right.
Should be the driver's side there. Yep, that looks right. This is kind of a funny mount here. Yeah. So that's going to be too far up right there. So that's going to be, nah, that won't work. There's no way you're going to be able to get to the mounts on the bottom. And that's only fiberglass for that trans shell, so it's never gonna hold long term. But for this, you're going right into the board, and then that floor will hold there. So that's the way I juggled it here when I was looking at a way to mount it, was doing it just like that there. What do you think though?
We're gonna have to drill through those 2x4s with a cable.
Yeah, so remember on the cable, it's a rear exit. So it has to come straight out, flat, and then taper down. All right, so nothing like a little bit of last minute design changes here. So for the shifter, kind of juggled putting it in the middle. That was kind of the way that we originally designed, but considering my size and the size of the T-block, it being that I'm smaller, you know, just kidding. It's not gonna go in the middle. The knee hits it, all that. So the best part where we're gonna put it, you're gonna think I'm crazy. So I'm actually gonna slap it right between my legs. Now I'm building the T-bucket for me, so that's comfortable for me to have it right between, and with the shortened column, it's just gonna work out perfect the way I kind of want it. And you know, worst case scenario, if we end up having to move it, I just have to deal with looking at the ground and 4 holes drilled in. So with that said, we tried the middle, we tried the passenger side. I'm just gonna put it right between the legs. Looking at the way that we actually have it set up too, is again, looked at having it in the middle, but because of the type of shifter it is, and it's a cable, not a direct mount on the transmission, we'll just route the cable right down low. And we got some tape down here to kind of get a good measurement, but we'll line it up with the steering column down there. So it looks like a lot is going on down here, but with me sitting in it, it's just perfect. So that cable will come out 5 3/4 out of the back here, and then what it'll do is it'll wrap down and around into the transmission. But just considering the amount of space that's in here, and after sitting in here, that was really the only viable option with this shifter, unless we started cutting and drilling and did a direct mount up here. But still, with the way, with being 6'2", 6'3" on a good day, having that direct mount here, my knee would still hit it and you'd feel absolutely cramped. This way I can still stretch out, throw my foot over on the passenger side if I don't have a passenger. And well, if I do have a passenger, I'll probably still throw my foot over there, but as long as the driver's comfortable. All right. God.
There it is.
Holy shit.
Don't get that fiberglass. It's like a motherfucker.
I know. Woo! But I think those 4 holes are actually going to hit. Is that going to clear the brake line now? What do you think? There we go. And we'll get a clamp for that. And you can see how simple this is here. So it's going to run through here, run through that hole, which will be underneath the seat, and then we can still work everything here, essentially. So that'll work out. And then the cover here will just go right over that. So looking good here. Get underneath, run that, and then we'll test it out and see if it actually shifts around. Well, actually, does it work? Yeah, looking good. Does this take you back to your old days? It's easier to work on than a new car, though. So let me jump up top what I'll do here, see what the hell drive's at. So I'm in neutral now. You want me to put it in drive or you want me to wait?
Drive.
Alright, that's drive. About-ish.
And we had the training and drive. Right?
Yep, that's it.
So I just want to see how close we are. See how much adjustments we got.
Alrighty, so check it out. Entire day later, and after finessing, having him finesse with the shifter down there and me working it up here to get everything lined up, we are good to go. Everything locks in place, reverse, neutral, drive, and then second, first. It's an awfully loud shifter, but hey, you know you're in gear, so I like it a little better than the ones you can just kind of click back and forth, because you could inadvertently slam yourself out of gear or in gear. So, all right, so next up, we got the old Miss gasket. Not really sure what happened to the other. Well, it's a Mr. gasket, but I wonder what Miss gasket makes. Probably stuff for imports, 4 cylinders. Little spoon throttle. And then this little doohickey for the carburetor that looks like a dental tool they use for, well, your root canals. So we're tag teaming it over here. He's doing the universal joint drive shaft setup. But for the throttle, I've got the original mounting bracket right here for the spring, and then essentially throttle, kick down cable. But this old one's gonna come off here. It just doesn't work out for what we got going on. We have the old TV cable in here. Not going to use the kick down cable for right now. Maybe later on we'll see. We'll tuck it away. But essentially, it's pretty simple. It's going to click right onto that bolt there. Give us some room to mount some items. I noticed the throttle on this Holly doesn't fully return. So obviously we'll have to add our return springs on there to pull that back. Now for the inside, not looking with not a lot of room for that spoon throttle. So let's grab that and see how we'll knock that one out. Because I'm gonna have to sit in here and do some measurements and kind of figure out where we're gonna put it. Just enough out of the way, but with the brake sitting where it's at, it's gonna be a little tight on room. So we'll have to kind of play with that once we get the seats, seat belt and stuff knocked out here. All right, let's see if we can figure out this Rubik's Cube here. I'll probably have to adjust it once it's mounted to a firewall. At least we can get an angle set, figure out what we're gonna kind of do. Kind of see how this goes together. And then, so we'll figure out our angles once we're mounted, but let's go ahead and mock it up and see, and then we can take this off and drill some holes and go from there. But it's not a lot of real estate down there for your big, almost like just for your pinky toe. Let's get this bracket in here. That'll go right there, nice and high, plenty of room. All right, so keeping with our flavor profile, can't just throw on some El Cheapo Tractor Supply bolts, even though we got some pretty chrome for our firewall here. So for our bolts, we're just gonna heat them up, toss them in molten oil there, and heat the oil up, catch some stuff on fire, and make it look like that. It's like cooking a turkey, a metal turkey. Oh, let's see how dark they are. Not dark enough. Let's do it again. Alright, let's check on the first one. Oh, a little darker, so I think that'll work out for us there. Yeah, this looks much better. Alright, so now that the gas pedal, throttle pedal, sticky pedal is all set up, it's time to drop in some seats here. So, you guys remember the brackets, remember the seats that we made many months ago, so it's time to do some seat belts. Now, I wasn't going to do seat belts in the beginning. Some things changed, saw some videos, and well, some states, they just give you a hard time if you don't have seat belts. And well, not too sure how stolen Delta Airlines, stewardess demonstration seat belts are going to work, but got some nice fat fender washers, so we'll drill some holes, mount those from the bottom, but hey, if they don't serve a safety purpose, it's all for aesthetics, right? I can tell you what though, I am definitely missing my battery drill that I broke. Going old school with the electrical cord gets kind of difficult. And with the magic of camera work, I already went through and measured these. Imagine that. Or I just kind of winged it. And now we're running the 3/8, the big boy bit. Not very big boy if it gets stuck. Damn, chuck is slipping. All right, so this was, like I said, some super precision drilling right there. I know you guys have never seen some drilling like that. So, make sure we got this correct. All right, so you guys know I have a pretty sick sense of humor. I was looking at the instructions for seatbelts, and well, let me show you this. It's like the sticker that they put on your lawnmower to don't put your hand underneath. No, no, no. It means somebody did it and probably died. So we're gonna do it the right way. I don't feel like flying anytime soon. Well, the old safety belts are done. So the way the seats are designed, originally we just kind of had them on the back here and then added this bar later on, decorated a little bit with some rubberized stuff. But I don't want to scratch all that up. So I picked up some 3M here, and it's like a double-sided rubberized tape, which we're just going to mount. I already did the top here, but this will actually protect this and then the backing of the seat, because the back of the seat is actually pretty sharp where the circular stamps are. So we'll run this up here, and then later on, if we ever need to, we can always change this out and replace it versus actually replacing this backing, which is just one by here. Then we should have just enough to finish it out on this roll. Some stuff's expensive, so don't want to buy any more than I need. And this will dampen the back of the seat as well, so you don't get any vibration sounds or anything crazy. Almost, yep, shift it.
No, I didn't shift.
No, I'm saying shift it towards the center console a little bit. Hold on, I'm stuck underneath. Okay.
Got you.
Yep. All right, so a little finessing seats are in, but what I want to look at is, do they look straight or do they look, I think they look fine, right? Or do you think they have to be shimmed? I don't think so. I say good enough, honestly, but I don't know. Try to.
You tell me here. The only question I have is this upper corner.
Yeah.
Okay. You tell me what from the front. What looks better?
All right, let me look at the front then.
There. Or there.
I think that one needs to be shimmed right where you have it there.
Okay. So
But if you do that, so check, look, grab the other seat now, the passenger side, do the same thing with that one.
the back, this one's pretty solid. I think.
Yeah.
That is where it is.
Okay, so do the driver's side again, because if you do the driver's side, then it throws off
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
the
I think.
passenger side.
Yeah, I think what we got here, like you said, this bar.
It's sitting on the bolt.
No, it's not far enough back to go underneath this aluminum lip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's maybe, but everything. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about is it tilted this way? And if it is, it's only a cut here. I think that's us overreacting. No,
Yeah.
oh man, your seat looks like the tattoo.
I know. Let me look at it again. I don't know. I think that works. I could say, hey, leave your opinions in the comments section, but by the time I read the comments, the video will be out and the seats will be mounted. I think that'll be good there.
I think it'll look better once it's snugged up with the lighting.
Yeah. All right, let me get all this vacuumed up, and then we will move on to, well, I don't know. I've lost track about what we're doing. Yeah, but we'll get these bolted down. So I want to throw in a little bonus here. Didn't get it on film, obviously, or on camera, but you guys remember the old transmission? It was about a $60, $70 transmission that we put in here. It was obviously really, really rough, just like the motor. It looked terrible. And I took a gamble. So we took the pan off. It was doing some leaking, whatnot. The pan is actually pretty surprisingly clean. Not bad. Wiped it out just a little bit. But there wasn't any clutch residue or anything like that. But I want to drop underneath and actually show you what it looks like on the valve body and everything. Because this thing actually looks really good. And I have to say, for 60, 70 bucks, I don't really remember what I paid for it, taking a risk off Marketplace. This thing actually doesn't look too bad. Bell housing looks like shit, but everything else looks pretty good. I also got the drive shaft dropped in as well, and boy, was that a pain in the butt. I'll talk about that a little bit later on that there. Now, since it's off, we're just gonna do, you know, the old stress version of the gasket, just a normal cork, and then just some spray-on gasket to get it to stick on. The Felpro one is just way too expensive, and being $9 and running out of money on the T-bucket project, this was a better way to go. Damn it. What was it, 2 up front, right?
No, I had it backwards. There should be 4 right there in the front.
And then 2 in the back?
Yeah, I was looking at it backwards.
Okay.
Back ones are in.
All right,
I got them all in on this side except for the 2 that hold the... And that's it. We're out of bolts. Good. Okay.
All right.
So run your finger around and make sure we're not missing anything.
Bolt in, bolt in.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all in except for that bracket. All right, well, pan gasket's in, and well, the shifter lever, which went in perfectly before, until this guy touched it, just kidding, will not go in at all anymore. So no idea how it went in before, but changing the pan gasket now, the holes are off by about 1/8. So it worked before, not sure what happened, but I'm gonna ream that hole out, throw that back on there. So here's to day 5. All right, now before y'all start asking, let me just clear something up. No, the pan is not in backwards. So some physical anomaly is going on there. So yes, the pan is not in backwards. All right, well, you know, obviously we got to drill this out, and since my Cobalt one broke a long time ago, this one was donated to me, but he lost the chuck. So we're having to do it the the old school homemade way, and you know, these replacement chucks just don't fit. So taking donations if, you know, I do like me a DeWalt, but take a Cobalt. Somebody wants to send me another drill here. You know, we're getting low on funds for the T-bucket. Look at that, that's hilarious. Another day later, finally got the shifter hooked back up. So now it works. I don't know why we had to elongate the holes, but that ended up actually working. No idea what changed, but everything is nice and tight, stays in, and we just lost a socket down the hole. That's okay though, I'm not worried about that. But let's move on to, well, let's move on to the motor because I got something for that. All right, so we're back to the front, and I put a lot of thought into the horn situation. I thought about doing one of those Wooga horns, beluga horns, and then air horn. But then I don't want to hook up all the compressor stuff. So went the next step up. I'm using a vacuum horn, wolf whistle. So if any old timers remember any of these, or anybody else out there ever use one of these, yeah, let me know. We're going to try to actually hook this up. We're going to run it off the PCV system and see if we can do some parking lot whistling. So I think these are like circa 1940, 1950. It's not an original one, obviously, but it'd be pretty cool to actually come across a original one somewhere. But it's just a cast, pretty simple design. Runs off the intake pressure, and I think we just mount it right on top, kind of make it a nice little hood piece, and then they make a nice little cover cone for the top, because it ends up becoming essentially a bug cone, and it just collects a bunch of stuff, and then you have to replace all these. But I saw one of these in a YouTube video of a guy. I don't remember where I actually saw it, but it sounded absolutely awesome compared to a normal horn, everything like that. Now, it's not going to replace our normal car horn for the idiots that like to, you know, drive like idiots, but it does have a pretty sweet sound to it. Now, it comes with a little chain here, but I'm going to run a choke cable to this. That way I can run it all the way into the dash, and then I can, you know, woo woo. So I think we're going to mount it right on top of the alternator here. About the alternator too, we're going to end up switching this to a one-wire alternator. I'm having issues with this Remy Delco here, and I looked for a rebuild kit. Can't find a rebuild kit. I kind of want to get rid of the 3-wire setup that I have going on. Plus, this one's not really hooked up right now, but it's not consistent. So we're going to dump this one eventually. But in the meantime, we can slap on our little air horn here and then test it out. So it came with some Teflon tape on there, but I kind of destroyed it when I took off the little valve. So we'll pop just a little more on there one more time and redo it. Where's that little piece at there? Now we'll see how this does up here long term. If it bounces too much in the wind or collects too many bugs, then we'll just relocate the sucker. Yeah, that's funny. I like the way that looks. Kind of wish it was black though. Maybe we could. Nah, we'll leave it. It matches the frame, but. Looks good enough there. Slide that on to there. I think we might be ready to fire it up, test it out, and then check for leaks. If this thing even fits on here. Oh yeah, probably should got a blue one would have kind of looked nice on here. No, I'm just kidding. The black goes with our color scheme. Keep the bugs out. So now that the little horn thing is on, I say that we go ahead and turn it on and see how it sounds. Start this sucker up. Idle's still a little too high. Still kind of working on that though. All right, let's see what we got. Pretty wild, right? So we'll run a chain, well, essentially we'll run the choke cable back here, and then we'll mount it somewhere in the dash there, which should be pretty good. And I think RPM might be a little low, but let me show you some other things we got installed as well. Now off camera, we ended up getting the throttle cable actually installed, and it was a bit of a, let's just say, a DIY. We used a traditional Mr. Gasket over here on the bracket, I'm sorry, on the cable, but now the bracket, this is where it got really interesting. So because we couldn't really get through the 3/4 inch plywood, we took a fender washer, spray painted it black, wood screws, and then essentially drilled all the way through with a 1-inch bit, hole saw, through the frame here, I'm sorry, through the firewall, and then on the other side, we hooked it right up to the pedal down in there. So it's a bit difficult to see, but you can see where it comes through right up top, up in there. There was no way with the way the set screw was set up that we would have made it through the frame. So yeah, little DIY there. Now for the steering column. Ended up putting in a nice trim boot. So steering column's right there, fits through. None of the water is going to backsplash up into the cab anymore. So that's all set as well. Throttle cable bracket's all set. I know our horn looks a little goofy up here, but I really like the way that looks. It's kind of like an in-your-face look at my little horn. So it's just running through that PCV valve system here, just with some vacuum lines. So nothing too crazy there. Now we do need to get this cleaned up. I'm still waiting on our alternator replacement. Haven't really figured that one out yet. I do need to track down a good one that's under 80 amp. I don't want to go any higher than that because I don't need it. But now we do need to add some more transmission fluid to it since we lost some with the pan gasket change, and then I think we can throw some wheels on this sucker. Well, we're gonna run it through the gears, and then we'll see if everything works out. And then possibly maybe put the wheels on it and push it outside and see if it rolls. I didn't say drive, I said we'll just push it outside and make sure it rolls. So I know the pump isn't quite gonna engage with us just sitting in park, but we do gotta top off the transmission fluid before we actually try to switch it through the gears. And then once we start switching it to the gears, that pump will engage and then suck the rest of the fluid in, but pan's still pretty empty. How about we jump in and test it out? I got my seat cushion right there. Ugh. It's a little tight. So, slap it in reverse. Well, it got reverse. Got it in drive. So we're in drive. Make sure the brakes work. There we go. Proportioning valve is set up for more for the front, so obviously it's not going to slam the backs down. So we're good to go with that. I'm going to have to check this gauge. I notice this gauge is actually jumping every so often. I don't know. I checked the grounds, checked everything. It might actually just be the gauge, but I notice when it gets around that 600-700 mark, it starts jumping. So I don't know what's going on there. We'll check that. And then fuel pressure is pretty low right now, but that's pretty good because we're not revving on it. Before we hit that test ride, I'm thinking go go ahead and install the windshield. So we did some work on this. Now I had some glass cut a couple months ago. Don't think that glass is gonna work out with this kit actually. So if you're building a T-bucket, or if you have a T-bucket and you don't have a windshield, you'll know that getting these brackets is it's like gold. You're not gonna find them anywhere right now. I think the one company that produces them, I think everybody just yeah, they're not making them anymore. So no idea about that. But we took a windshield that would be the typical T-bucket windshield, round top. I'll show you that here, and essentially did a chop down, cut up some internal slugs here, and then the way the body's designed, these are actually made by Total. Now Total's been out of business now for about, I think 20 or 30 years. Somebody can double check and confirm that in the comments section for me. But essentially these brackets worked on the old Speedway bodies and not the, let's just say the post 2008 where they actually did a complete design change, especially on the corner down here. So typically the windshield would sit flush right with the top, and then you'd have your 2 bolts here that would hold on, and then you would have one on the back. But because this is kind of slightly off, I'm still gonna make it work because I'm tired of waiting for brackets. Did an extra hole, remounted up here, did a chop style. So I think it's about a 13-inch is what it comes out to be. But let's drop it on and we'll try to bolt it up and see if it actually works. Don't have any glass, but we'll pretend. You got it? Fell right through. Nothing like a little bit of fiberglass in your lungs, right? We do have a little gap right in between, which is a little more than what the gasket was. We're going to use the Model T gasket, but not going to end up using that. So maybe we'll do a giveaway for somebody building a 1923 actual Model T. But this will provide a nice little breeze in Florida during the summer versus having something right in your face and it blocks all the wind out. So now it's mounted. Let me show you what it looked like before we actually did the cut. And here's the top portion of the windshield there. So that's what the style would have been. I'm not really a big fan of that style, especially you're gonna have to get another piece of glass cut, a little more expensive. I couldn't find one that actually had functioning hinges. It would have been kind of cool to do a little bit of a taper like that or forward or whatever. But I think once you kind of take this away, kind of get that Tribute T kind of modern chop look that I'm looking for, especially matching the seats. This to me is just way too big. And this even on, this was actually one of the smaller windshield kits here. I think this was considered a 32 or a 37, and I think they go all the way up to, I think like 40. I've seen some really crazy tall ones. All right, so the time has officially come, and I think we jump in, go take it for a test ride. It's dark out, but keep the cops at bay for now. Florida law gives you about 30 days, so got about 30 days to get this registered, but we'll power it up, go up the block, nothing too crazy here. Now the seats, just sitting in them, working on everything, it is super uncomfortable. So let me get the camera set up and we will head out. All right, see if we can get in this little tight. It's like a Star Wars pod racer here.
Come on. Come here, you gotta get on his lap for a second. Till I get my ass in there.
All right. Let's go wake up the neighbors. Sense of accomplishment, right? This is awesome. So I think you helped me knock out a month's worth of work in a week.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could help.
I don't think I would have made June. I don't think I would have done it.
That's why I'm here. 2 months ago I was worried.
Yeah.
And then it started like, wow, that month flew by. Yeah.
Things started getting real
I said,
at the electrical. At the Let's roll. Oh man, these bumps. This is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, hit the whistle. Hit the whistle. There you go. That's funny. I did notice, if I checked the oil earlier, it was about a quart low. I did notice that, but I can't remember.
what you start with, you don't know.
I don't remember. It was so long ago when I checked everything.
Top it off?
I topped it off, yeah. So I added another quart. I checked the dipstick again, and I think everything is good. So I'll check it again in another day.
You got lucky in the transmission and the engine.
Yeah, I know. Facebook special motor, Facebook special transmission. I can't remember. The transmission was either 60 or 80 bucks. I don't remember, but
I know it was under 100. I know that.
yeah, when I showed up, the guy goes, well, I don't know anything about the transmission. All I do know is it came out of this car here. Good luck. But I think the biggest thing is I saw that they were plugged. So that was nice to see that they were actually plugged. I'm gonna get on it here and see. Ready? That feels good. Feels good. Yeah, I wonder why there's so many. They're looking for T-buckets. No. Nah, this is still a bit unreal. Still a bit unreal. All right, first official gas fill up. See how much we can pump in here. So we still got to get the back mounted for the trunk lid, and then I ended up just doing that there. So still more to come. Don't worry, just because we're doing the test ride doesn't mean we're done with the T-bucket just yet. See any leaks or anything here, so I think we're doing pretty good. We do have that transmission leak, but it's just a small drip here, so we're gonna leave that alone. Nothing going on up here. Whistler still attached, so we're looking good there. Let's jump to the rear end and see if everything looks all right. Let's do a touch test, see if it's hot. It's a little warm. Yeah, it's definitely a little warm. So we'll dump that once we do a good break in, and then we'll change the oil as well a little on, because it is break-in fluid. Start her up. We're good to go. Everything still works. Yeah, I know. We'll get that taken care of. Uh-oh. All right, well, we broke down and now we're pushing. All right, so I'm thinking it's the battery because we're using the HEI distributor, and I think the alternator is not working the way it should be. So we're doing a quick boost charge over here. Unfortunately, the old man lost a bet, so I dumped him off at Circle K, but I gave him my credit card. So I said, have at it, and we'll come pick you up in a couple hours. Just kidding, it shouldn't take too long. All right, so we got it started, and it was a fuel issue in combination with the battery. So we'll talk about that. Let's get this sucker home. 1 a.m. or so, back on the road. No fuel issues. We had another issue right when we took off, and then we got Dad following literally right behind to make sure that we can get this sucker home, and then we can go through and figure out what the hell is going on towards the end. I know it's a long video, about an hour long, and attention span on YouTube seems to only be about 3.5 minutes for a video. But to recap, we're back home, obviously. And I saw that this fitting here, this keeps coming loose. As many times as you tighten it, this AN6 keeps coming loose. So we're gonna have to look at this and figure out maybe a redesign or reroute for this. Now I think it was episode 4 we installed this, and yeah, it's at a weird angle, but we tried multiple fuel pumps, and this is the only one that would actually fit. And you can only rotate it so much, and this was the only way to rotate it to get it to work without it facing the motor and causing a bunch of other routing issues. So there may be too much tension on this. I'm not too sure, maybe too loose. We'll keep an eye on that. We also have some weeping coming from that head bolt there, so we got to keep an eye on that. Now I did finally pull the serial number on this Remy Delco Remy, whatever the heck it's called. It is self-exciting, but not excited enough to keep the battery charged. So we did finally get the alternator in. We're gonna get that installed in another video, go for a test ride and check it out. But there is a little issue going on underneath and in the back. Let's jump over there and kind of take a peek at that. This one's a bit hard to see, but there's a little bit of caliper wobble going on, and I think the mounting bracket for the caliper is actually slightly warped down here. So I'm gonna have to pull the tire off, pull this apart, and check that out. Now our leak on our third member has finally stopped. It was leaking here and there, so it's nice. We'll keep an eye on that. Now, the other issue we got is we do have transmission oil leaks still. Not as bad, but it did take a dump yesterday, so I'm keeping an eye on that. Possibly gonna just replace the pan as well as the gasket with something of higher quality. But it's kind of getting annoying having to keep our eye on that, and it just keeps draining over and over. So just because we did our test ride, we are not done yet. There's still a lot to do before the power tour. So guys, I'll see you in about a week. Hit that like and subscribe. Catch you around.